Hello YouTube, this is Rudy here. I'm going to discuss the subject of survival kit, surviving a disaster, bug out, bug in, and those issues that relate to that, But I'm going to come from a perspective of very low income and a fixed income. I live off of less than $1,000 a month, and that means rent, food, supplies for anything, soap, shampoo, etc., bills, and it doesn't leave me much money for buying anything. But one thing I figured is one of the most important things that a person's going to need in the event of a disaster or some other widespread calamity is water. And I drink a lot of soda and juice, I also drink water, of course, so don't worry about my health. But look, here, this is a Hawaiian Punch container I cleaned with bleach water, and now I keep water in it. You can see here that I have 14 bottle 2-liter bottles, which is 7 gallons. I have 7 gallons of water here stored, and I read that you're supposed to exchange the water out every 3 months to keep it fresh. And since I cleaned it with bleach, it's relatively disinfected water. It should last and be just fine for the 3 months that I keep it. And this is half of the water I store. I keep it in a box, again, for additional protection, because I live in Southern California. And here, the most likely event would be, the most likely disastrous event would be an earthquake. So let's say we have an earthquake of magnitude of 7 or more. Well, that's strong enough to knock down buildings. So keeping my water in a box will help to protect it should the building actually come down. Here you see more water. Here I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 2-liter bottles, which is 5.5 gallons. So total I have 12.5 gallons of water saved up. And all my supplies for keeping safe I have on my shelf. I have on the shelf. I have clothes for an emergency. There's a small amount of food. If I had to rummage through my kitchen, I could find at least 3 times as much food. But this is just like a 4 days, 3 to 7 day supply, depending on how I ration it. And then there's some more supplies here, and even more there. And if my house is falling down, I'm not going to have time to grab my sleeping mattress. If I have an opportunity to do so, I will grab it. That's one of the last things I'll grab, though, because it's not very important. And then I have a sleeping bag right there. And again, in Southern California, it's warm enough where if I'm in the city, I can get by with sleeping in just clothing if I had to in the event of a disaster. And then, again, I have my backpack right there, Pinnacle 40 by REI. And then I have an even larger backpack, the Frontier Low, 65 liters plus 15. So that one's a monster of a backpack, bomb-proof, carry a lot of stuff in that one. And then I have the Mountain Smith fanny pack with shoulder straps and the Flash REI. As you can see, I'm a big fan of REI products. I have a lot of backpacks because if I ever had a bug out, I'm not going to stay, or bug in rather, I'm not going to stay inside my own house here. I have family that lives about 1.25 miles away from me, and we probably make our base camp there as far as survival goes. So I would have to carry all my stuff with me, and my family, should they have to also carry equipment, they don't have backpacks, so they can use my backpacks. Okay? And as far as clothing goes, I have a pair of camouflage pants. I have hat here for keeping the sun out of my face, whatever. I keep 2 fleece coats. I have maybe 4 or 5 long sleeve t-shirts. I prefer long sleeve t-shirts because then if you have to, you can cut the sleeves off and make them short sleeve. And I carry 3 pairs of really warm socks, thick wool socks, a beanie, rainproof pants, rainproof Columbia jacket, fleece pants, fleece underwear. Again, I could just sleep in my clothing from what I have in Southern California. It's not like I'm living in Montana where I'm going to get below 0 or anything like that, you know. And then on this shelf here, what I got is my camping gear. I have an Nalgene bottle, a bottle of hand sanitizer. Inside that container right there is cooking stove and a fuel canister. Here, there's some more cooking equipment, some knife filing gear. There's a file to sharpen my axe. And here, you might think it's funny, but I actually have a Carefree Body Shape Extra Long, what do you call these? I don't know. There's, panty liners, Kotex for emergency blood absorption. If someone's bleeding really bad, that's a really cheap way to go instead of having to buy expensive gauze. So I got that in my emergency kit. I got my blue bag emergency kit, and in there is things like antihistamine, well, you know, over the counter, aspirin, ibuprofen, bandages, survival, wilderness medical book. I have a syringe to rinse out wounds with. I have a packet of emergency sterile water to use to rinse out wounds with. I have a pair of tweezers, a lot of things. I'll do a separate video on my first aid kit. And since this is not camping, I also carry a bottle of alcohol and a bottle of peroxide. Again, here you can see a canister of gas for the stove. There's oil and nitro solvent for my gun. Well, I don't have a gun, but I mean for cleaning my knives. I use the nitro solvent just in case there's a little bit of rust on the knife, and then there's the oil to keep the knives oil free. There's a plastic bag right there behind, because a plastic bag has a million uses. And in here, this is arnica. It's good for, this is rheumatolum. It's basically Mexican Bengay, okay? Here, this is arnica. It's medicinal. It's good for bruises, sore muscles. And in this box, I have a soap. I have batteries, AA. I have an emergency radio. I have matches, which I kept in a film canister. They're normal wooden matches, but they're in a film canister, so they're still dry. I have tobacco. You know, native people will use it for trading a lot. You know, and it could come in handy as a trade item, or just a gesture of respect for an elder. I have toothpaste in there. I have some bear medicine, or bear root, or it's also called oh shoot, I don't remember what it's called, but it's a root. You can see it right there. It's just a big clumpy wooden root, and it's antibiotic. It's really strong antibiotic, but it's only a root. It's not like going to use medical supplies from a doctor. It's not that effective. I have a rain poncho in here. I have a couple forks and spoons, little shampoos, more batteries. And here I have duct tape. I have a bottle of aspirin, another hand sanitizer. I have sunblock. I'm dark enough that I don't need a lot of sunblock, but I do. I use it sometimes, yeah. Okay, I have an extra flashlight in there. I have binoculars so I can see. I have gloves As you can see, I have my gloves. I carry some cord with me. 3 tools. I have a crescent wrench. Actually 4. A big heavy-duty pair of pliers. With wire cutter option on them. A small crowbar / hammer. And also iodine tablets, nail cutters, nail clippers for hygiene house, and also a reversible screwdriver. But those are the 4 main tools that I think I would need. If I had more tools to carry, I would carry them. Okay, so then down here, what I have, oh, I forgot to mention this. These are my motorcycle goggles. I had these when I had a motorcycle. I kept them because they're really very handy. In an event of an earthquake, we might see a lot of dust. I mean, when the 9/11 towers fell, obviously a lot of dust fell. So an earthquake might also elicit the same response. Okay, so in here I have a bunch of stuff sacks. I have my camping tent, my platypus bottles, some bandanas, a tarp. Okay, and then also I have my collection of knives, which is all black right there. You can't see it, but I'm sure you can see the handles of the knives. And that's what I would carry. These are all my supplies for bug out / bug in at my family's house down the street. And this is all done on a really cheap budget. You know, any item that you see that it was expensive, like my knives and tents, sleeping bag. It took me years to collect all these items. But the first aid kit, you know, everyone has a few tools lying around. Oh, I don't know. I think that was a frog. So it just goes to show that even if you think you can't afford it, you can. Again, it just covered the basics: first aid, food, water, clothing. And I keep this all on the shelf because a lot of these things I still use. You know, I keep my backpack right there in the event of an emergency. After the initial shock, or perhaps even during the actual earthquake, for example, I will actually be able to pack my stuff in, unless, of course, the earthquake is too strong, and then I just have to hope the building doesn't fall on me. And then if the building does fall, I'll gather my stuff out from among the rubble. But we'll wait for that bridge to come, and then cross that bridge when we get to it. But this is all supplies. This is just what I wanted to focus on, was showing you supplies. Clothing again. And one of the main key things is to remember is to be able to carry it. In the event of a large disaster, I'll tell you, one of the first things I'm going to acquire is a shopping cart, because a shopping cart is going to be very useful to carry a lot of items, whereas a backpack can carry a limited number of items. And I would advocate that you also keep that in mind. If you don't have a backpack and you're too poor for one, well, there's a lot of homeless people out there carrying hundreds of pounds of items in a shopping cart. And in the event of a disaster, no one's going to care if you have a shopping cart. And so that might be the way to go. Okay. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it useful in any way. Leave comments, video responses if you can find the time to do so, and if you're so inclined. Thanks for watching. Bye.